Today we're going to be looking at this Akasa heatsink and fan, which apparently channels the calm and the power of the ocean waves. As you can see from the front of the box, it's called the Alucia H4, which is a premium CPU cooler. You can see the actual heatsink on there, which is black, and the fan, which is a dark blue. According to their website, it's a sleek all-black heatsink and tranquil blue fan that channels the calm and the power of the ocean waves. Okay, let's move on. On the back and the side of the box, it tells you about the dimensions as well as the CPUs it will fit, which is pretty much most modern ones with the exception of the socket 1700 for Intel. Tells you about the fan, the premium badge, multi-platform, sleek black fans, and it's got 4 heat pipes. So inside the box, you have the foam. Inside the foam, you have the heatsink and the actual fan itself. You've got a manual. And then inside a cardboard box, you've got all these extras here, including your fittings for the back plate, as well as screws and thermal paste. Windows 11, powerful, productive, and profitable for resellers. Windows 11 was built with usability, efficiency, and security in mind, reimagining the way a PC should work. Windows 11 has been beautifully simplified. With a streamlined UI, it's simple to upgrade. VIP is your destination for genuine Windows 11. Contact your VIP account manager for the latest price and bundle deals. Okay, let's have a closer look at the fan. So it's a 9-bladed fan with the ocean calming blades or whatever the nonsense are on about. You've got a 40cm cable there. It is what's called a flat black cable, so it's nice and black as well as flat, so that makes it nice and neat. And it has got a PWM connection on there, which means it's a 4-pin fan header it plugs into on your motherboard, which allows it to adjust the speeds of the fan. It is rubberized on the 4 corners, which is good, stops vibrations and all that. Apparently it's a premium logo there rather than a sticker. It looks like the actual logo is built into the actual fan itself, which is good, rather than the sticker flying off after a few months. The sides is open, so you can easily put clips inside if you need to for any reason. And on the back, you can see the frame there, slightly bigger where the cables goes, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward. And there's your model numbers if you need it. So let's have a closer look at the heatsink. As you can see there, it's quite dense, so it's not so easy to see through, which means it's good. It's going to dissipate plenty of heat there. On the top of the heatsink, it's got Akasa's name. It does mark very easily, so you might want to wipe it off just afterwards. And you can see the 4 heat pipes going through, so obviously there's not 8, like it looks like it's 4, which loop around and go that way. If you look at the bottom of the heatsink itself, you do have obviously the shiny bottom, and you can see the 4 heat pipes, which are copper, going directly through the base, which is good. Now, to mount this is fairly simple, but we'll show you briefly in a second. Right, okay, so how do you actually fit this cooler? It's actually quite simple. If you've got a cutout in the back of your case, you should be all right. But if you want to do it the proper way with the motherboard out of the case, all you have to do is get the back plate. This is if it's an Intel board. AMD, you don't need this bit. But basically, you put it on, and you'll find that it just basically slots over the top. If you've got it wrong, that you'll soon find out. But you'll see it's sort of keyed, so it will only fit in, well, one way or the other. It won't go in sideways. Once that's done, you flip it over, and then you get the little plastic bits here, which just basically push straight over the pegs. You do that for each corner. Obviously, I'm just going to skip it because I don't want to be here all day. Once you've done that, you get the mounts and just slide them over the top. Make sure the curve is on the inside towards the CPU. If you've got an AMD, it'll be slightly different. Just follow the manual, but it's pretty similar-ish. Once that's done, you get these little screws here. If I do it without dropping it, screw them in the top. Again, I'm only going to do this basically here, just so you can see. And then do the same for that side. Put your thermal paste on your actual CPU. There's no CPU in here because this is just for demonstration. You then get your cooler. I suggest you do it so the name's the correct way up, so it would just pop on like that. Then what you do is screw those two bits in with obviously a screwdriver, and then it'll grip in. Go as tight as you can, but without forcing it, so it's pretty easy to do. And then you get your fan, you put the two little clips, what you get with it, which look like these. It does come with two spares if you do want to add an extra fan to it for a push-pull configuration. You get those on the fan, and then basically all you do is put it over the front of the heatsink, and then it just clips in like that, and the same for the other side. And don't forget, you need to plug in the PWM connection if you're not sure where that goes on your motherboard. It's usually to the top side of where your CPU is, around about this area, but every board is slightly different and you may have multiple connections on there, so check your manual if you're not sure. So down to testing. First of all, we're testing a Intel i7-10700K processor, and the way we do testing, we test for 30 minutes. We get the average and the maximum temperature and let you know what those are. We set the fans at specific speeds so they don't automatically get faster and slower and give false readings like some reviews you'll see. So idle temperature, that's when the processor is basically doing nothing and sitting there for 30 minutes, only got 1.5 degrees above room temperature, averaged at around about 22 degrees for us, which doesn't really matter too much because generally you're not really bothered about the temperature when the machine's sat there doing nothing. But as soon as we put a load on the processor with the fan running at 50% speed, the average temperature got up to 70 degrees Celsius with a maximum temperature of 76, which was pretty good considering it was only working at 50%. The noise level, it was basically 1 or 2 decibels above ambient. You could barely hear, to be honest with you, unless you got your ear right next to it. Now, when we put the fan under 100% load, so it was working flat out, so the machine was doing all the work it can and the fan was going as fast as it can, we got an average temperature of 64 degrees Celsius with a maximum temperature of 71 degrees Celsius. So as you can see there, the temperature does drop quite a bit, but it does get a little bit louder. So we were getting probably around about 5 decibels above ambient. So it was audible over the rest of the case noise, but that's to be expected when you're going to turn the fans on full whack. Any fan what is silent generally isn't going to cool as well. Now, we did overclock the processor to 5.1 gigahertz. It was able to cope with that with no problems. Did get a little bit toasty on the maximum. We did get up to 91 degrees Celsius on the maximum temperature, but it averaged out at about 80 and was well below thermal throttling levels. So it did actually very well. So in conclusion, well, the CPU cooler does pretty well. It doesn't really bring anything new to the market, I don't think. Okay, you've got all this aqua effecty wave things and all this, what they're going on about. But in all honesty, the blue colour of the fan, you can't really see it when it's inside the case. It just does actually look black when it's running, to be honest with you, unless you've got loads of RGB lighting going off in there. And then you probably wouldn't have this fan because you'd probably rather have something what had RGB lighting on. But saying that, it does perform well. Unfortunately, there is no brackets included for any 1700 sockets or anything like that. It should work on the new AM5 socket when it comes out because AM5 and AM4, so we've been told, is going to be compatible with each other. But otherwise, I'd recommend this product. Did this video pique your interest and you're interested in more Akasa products? Why not click just up here? Yeah, just there. Otherwise, if you want to learn about other heat sinks and fans, click on this link just over here.